So,
Still don't have a mouse today, so it's going to be a bit stumbly today. In fact, that's probably worth pulling up a link to that. Mention it when we get that going. We were just talking before the call recording started about CZ from Binance. It was suffered a personal fine of 1.3 million, and a company Binance themselves with some penalties of 4 billion by the SEC. So they'll be handing over a significant portion of cash to the American government, which will then probably use it to go after more exchanges.
Jonathan, the voice coming across is broken a little bit, so it's not coming across clearly.
Is that any better?
Much better, yeah, that's clear.
Helpful if I put the microphone in front of my face, isn't it? So,
It does.
good, thank you for that. So the sort of the sentiment around Twitter, certainly to start with after the announcement, was pretty negative on several fronts. Even one of my favorite bloggers or vloggers, Coffeezilla. I don't know if you've seen that guy talk on YouTube. He does a whole load of investigative sort of journalism into crypto projects. And he wasn't particularly, well, I didn't actually listen to his recording, but certainly the title of his piece was kind of another one falls, another one bites the dust, bundling CZ in with the rest of the SBF crowd, which I don't think is the case at all.
No, I think it's a different category. It's more of a procedural failures as opposed to mingling funds.
Certainly, there's been no accusations of mingling of funds. Yeah,
it's reporting failure, isn't it? It's to do with the anti-money laundering, and it's supposed to report the suspicious wallets activities. That's where he's failed quite a lot.
Yeah, or preventing them from using the network
and getting on to and then sanctions.
Yeah, which is I mean, if you're comparing it with the way that the real world operates, then it's where it's a significant penalty in terms of judgments by the SEC, because telling or monitoring and tracking and divulging of information around what's considered to be illegal activity by the US SEC on a blockchain or on a series of blockchains is impossible to regulate to the same extent that you can prevent those entities from operating on the mobile phone or telephone networks. So really, you should be holding them to the same sort of account as you would Dish or Virgin or any of these large global network providers who just in telecoms rather than in blockchain. And so it's kind of an unfair accusation, but there's a maturing phase for any industry, and this is what it's going through at the moment. We're being beaten with a stick to try and bring us under regulation, even if that is unfair jurisdiction. It's something that it's just going to happen. We kind of have to treat it as inevitable. So I think there's going to be a few more big cases like this, probably. Certainly seems to have been Charles Hoskinson's opinion as well, and that they're not going to stop here, even though they've taken out the biggest, Binance, and hit them with their stick. It hasn't prevented them from then moving swiftly on to issuing a second investigation and fine on Kraken. So even though Kraken paid, I can't remember how much their fine was, but it was a huge amount, millions. Earlier this year, they've come at them again for even more. So even once you are penalized, it doesn't prevent you from being further penalized under other codes that they decide to go on you after. So it's a bit of a shifting sand, a bit of a minefield, and this is certainly all within the realm of centralized exchanges, which is how we started the conversation, and that makes us all the more grateful for decentralized finance, because that is a truly impossible thing to regulate to the same extent, in my opinion. So let me think. Was it CoffeeZilla? If you want to find a few people to go after and hear some bits about these things. For balance, we'll provide CoffeeZilla's link, as well as Charles's breakdown. Finding it, but might have to just go straight to YouTube. There we go. And the other video was from
.co. I am so excited about this project. It's so fun.
I'm actually sharing it. Am I?
Fun game that makes you money. A fun game that earns you money.
Come on, you can do it. Not having my mouse and my normal keyboard is like trying to operate with mittens on. Green 2. There we go. Share. So here's CoffeeZilla, and this is the case. So he goes after high-profile YouTubers, in effect, and holds them to account. And so he's been very probing, revealed lots of hidden information, and done a good job overall. But in some instances, he is US based. He is coming from a compliance standpoint, and some of the projects he's gone after have been absolutely outright scams. But also then his opinions on CZ, I hold in reserve a little bit, because it's a tricky place to navigate. And if you're running the largest crypto exchange in the world, you're also one of the oldest and most well respected globally, to be hammered so hard by one nation is not an indication of what the opinion is globally as well. So there definitely was legal activity happening through the exchange, by money launderers, what were considered to be criminal organizations by the US. So terrorist organizations probably were funneling funds through Binance as well. But again, I kind of hold that to the same account. How busy are those entities on global telecoms networks as well? Just having access to the internet means they really have access to regulation as well. So holding Binance to account to this extent seems to be kind of an attack on crypto rather than an attack on criminal activity. So that was CZ and Binance. So I'll drop that link in the Discord server, as I always do, at the end. And then the other one I wanted to point you to was, actually, I can probably find that directly on YouTube as well. That's for, I think he has his own YouTube. And this one, The End of an Era, is the video where Charles talks about his personal relationship with CZ, however you want to call him, and what his opinions of him are. And he holds him in very high regard. So it was very interesting, actually. There's a post from CZ himself on Twitter after shortly after the revelations, and he was basically saying, yeah, I'm stepping down as CEO of Binance forthwith, and I shall be taking some time off, but then I will be back and made available to some of the projects I'm most interested in. And if anybody wants me to carry out consulting for them, please get in touch. And so he's already offering himself out for work again, which I think is encouraging to show that he's, spirit's not broken, which is good. And Charles talks about them in terms of them being the early adopters, early creators of the crypto industry, and all coming up together in the same sort of cohort of crypto savvy entrepreneurs. Cryptography in particular, rather than just crypto as we today. That term pretty much just means economic activity around blockchain, but really they are mathematicians and scientists in and of their own rights. Okay, good. Oh, I haven't got Discord up. Let me grab that and get my notes for the day. All right, you can do it. One of the projects I wanted to, or I have talked about regularly in the past, is MusiSwap, which is one of the largest and is the oldest exchange on Cardano. It's an order book. It launched with its order book model of decentralized exchange, and they have had a bit of controversy in the latter part of this year around their what they were terming slippage fee. What in reality it turned out to be was an optional brokerage fee set up by the Batcher, which is the entities that will process transactions through their automated moneymaker. The Batcher will take list of orders, process them, transactions, and can take an optional fee of, I think it was up to 10%. And that figure was actually presented on the user interface of their decentralized exchange, and you could set that to whatever you preferred, or you could turn it off entirely, so the batch fee wasn't applicable to you. And they were terming it slippage, which everyone sort of accepts as, if you want your order to go through, then you allow the price to move by a certain amount, because obviously markets are changing as you place your order. And so slippage is a known and understood and trusted factor. This batcher fee really was just an optional fee that people were offering to pay or not, or you were being asked to pay or not. And so a very different setup. And people found out about this, even though it was publicly declared as a fee in their blog post, and the mechanisms of it all described. People then found it later, especially when the milk price started to pump. There were a few people on Twitter who started to take a very strong look at MusiSwap, found this as a flaw in their communication, in their setup, and sort of started to bash them a bit on Twitter and social media. And that did result in a significant drop in price, drop in value of their token listing. So we have a look at the milk token. The time of the controversy, the token was in a bit of a surge. Okay, do days weekly, and their price rose up to 20 ADA per milk, and we've now halved that, or around about 8.3. We have been up again back to 14, so some of that probably is related to just general crypto, general crypto global macro markets affecting the price of crypto versus fiat, and therefore native tokens versus ADA. But a lot of it is down to the sort of bashing they had. So there was a steep decline from 22 all the way down to 6.2, 6 in fact. So that was around the controversy time, and then it's picked back up again since, because there is real utility here, real value. This is one slight mark against them, and they've repaired that user interface issue, which was under here. You can set your order limits, and it was under this, and it's now under this advanced configuration, and it's been called a matchmaker premium as opposed to a batcher slippage. So these are the normal slippage as you understand them regarding price movement as you place your order, and then this batchmaker fee is still, you can still turn it on. It's maximum of 2%. I think I said 10% earlier. I'm not sure if it was 10% previously, and now it's maxed at 2%. But you can just keep that off entirely, and there'll be no fee applied. And what was sort of most disingenuous perhaps about it is that MusiSwap in fact only have a couple of batches, and we think they are both being run by the MusiSwap team themselves. So that was really just a fee that they were taking in over and above their platform fee. So yeah, not really community minded, spirited action on their part. But their token is really valuable. Their exchange is very great. They've got 2 significant products coming out in terms of options, so you can create derivatives on native tokens on Cardano soon. And they also have a lending borrowing platform, I believe it's lending borrowing, called Li-Fi coming out as well. So they have more functionality, more applications, more token launches coming, and so they are a good player in the ecosystem. They just obviously are commercially minded, capitalist minded, and want to make money out of this as well. So you do have to hold them to account and keep an eye on them, but there's no reason not to look at them at them as an investment, in my opinion. An opinion only, no advice there. So that's MusiSwap, and what they have released since that time is at the time of the controversy, they offered to reimburse anybody who felt they'd been charged without their knowledge this additional fee, and promised to release an application that people could actually go and claim that fee. They offered a direct approach. So if you went to their Discord, raised a ticket with them, you could ask for your fee to be returned, and it would be returned. And they queried the blockchain, find all the fees that had been charged to you, to the wallets you gave them, and they would return that to you. So they were genuine in that regard, in trying to make amends. And they also promised their user interface to do that, and that has now actually been released. So you can go to reimb, as in reimburse.musiswap.com, connect to your wallet that you may have used through MusiSwap, and that will let you check the blockchain for any transactions that you've placed through MusiSwap and been charged a batcher fee back when it was still operational on by default in their UI. So yeah, that is worth doing. I checked myself. I've been a heavy user of MusiSwap, and I've had no fees to recover. So in all likelihood is there's only very few people who actually have a fee that they need to recover, and those fees, the likelihood are very small. So maybe a few ADA here and there. So again, not a significant impact on the ecosystem in reality, but in terms of what they've taken out by that batch fee is, I don't know the amounts, but it's a significant amount of ADA. So they have made good money from it, and they're willing to return that to you. So individually, won't make a big difference to you. Globally, it'll make a bit of an impact on them. That's probably worth pursuing. And this platform, again, I'll drop that link onto the Discord so you can go and check it out if you have been using MusiSwap at all. Any questions in around that? Again, feel free to interrupt me, please, if you come up with something you want to talk to me about. Otherwise, I can go and touch on a little bit of Project Catalyst. So, registration to vote in Project Catalyst. Get yourself some free ADA by voting as a whole ADA holder. By participating in Project Catalyst as a voter, you'll be given a reward and incentive in ADA, for participating. Doesn't matter how many votes you place, just place a few votes and you'll be assured of getting being included in that rewards distribution. The reward distribution is in proportion to the amount of ADA that you hold, in proportion to the total amount of voting ADA presented in that fund. And so you can have a little bit of an additional interest or incentive over and above your ADA holdings just by voting in Project Catalyst, and it's essentially free to participate in the voting procedures. I've talked about it several times in the past. You're all very familiar with it on this call directly, but this is mostly for the recording. If you registered in Fund 10, then you're all covered. You can just carry on and vote in Fund 11 with the same QR code. You may need to update your app for Fund 11, but that happens every fund pretty much. But you can carry on with the same QR code, so you don't need to re-register. If you have not registered at all, or if you have not re-registered since Fund 9, then or not voted since Fund 9, then do come in and re-register, get yourself a new QR code, and that will get you eligible for rewards. So you may still be able to vote with a QR code from earlier funds, but you will not be eligible for the reward. This is because the reward distribution mechanism has changed from a mere transaction to a regular transaction. And this is a technical mechanism of the blockchain itself. Effectively, the way that staking rewards were paid out was the same way that the voting rewards were being paid out. And that's now changed, and you're being paid in a normal transaction, because the whole tech infrastructure underlying Project Catalyst has been revamped, reworked. It's being worked on heavily, ongoing being worked, and they've secured funding in Fund 10 for a significant amount of development from the existing Project Catalyst teams. And they're doing a great job of releasing new tech. There's several new rounds of changes in Fund 11, which make things a lot more equitable for participants, whether that be as a voter or as a proposer or as a proposal reviewer.
Jonathan, so
yeah.
we just been we voted for Fund 10, right? So this Fund 11 is for next year, isn't it? It's not gonna happen now, is it? Although it says for Fund 11 is live, is it good? It's only for next year, isn't it?
The actual vote will start next year, but the process is starting now. So typically prior to Fund 9, the Project Catalysts were every 3 months. So you'd have a new fund every 3 months, 4 times a year there'd be a new fund. And that ran for the first 2 years. There was a break between Fund 9 and Fund 10 of about 9 months because there were several issues raised in Fund 9. There was a lot of new tech being built, and a lot of funding got cut from the Project Catalyst team themselves that was previously coming from Charles himself and from the IOG organization. That was cut significantly. This is my understanding of it. And so in Fund 10, there was a delay, and then when that did launch, there were categories specifically for releasing treasury funds to fund Project Catalyst itself, infrastructure and architecture and administration, and so that is now being funded, and that regular cycle of probably every 3 months or so will be picked back up again. In fact,
basically fund for November 30, that's literally in a few weeks' time, right? Within a week or so. So we need to vote again for Fund 11. Is that correct? My understanding?
In the new year, you'll be voting again, yes, for Fund 11. And in fact, with this new architecture that's being built out, there is the opportunity for funds to become far more regular. And so we can actually now run, say, test funds on preview or pre-prod networks in parallel with the funds being run on, with Project Catalyst being run on the mainnet. And down the road, we may actually run concurrent funds on mainnet is the potential opportunity down the road. So you could end up with, instead of Fund 9, Fund 10 running one after the other, they could actually run concurrently or in shorter iterations. So yeah, everything's changing. Obviously, voter fatigue is a real thing. By the sound of your questions, Utan, you're not too keen on jumping back into voting again. But that's one thing that they're weighing up, they're measuring to see how much they can get done at once and how much needs to be delayed a little bit. So we'll see how we go with Fund 10 and Fund 11. Fund 11 and Fund 12 in terms of timelines. But yeah, Fund 11 is opening now. Proposals are open. So if you have an idea that you want to see submitted into Fund 11, then you can actually present these now into idea scale again. Unfortunately, we're still on idea scale for this round. But the user interface is being updated left, right, and center. So Project Catalyst itself, which is got its own website now, projectcatalyst.io, which is the one I'm looking at on screen. This has this page for voter registration. We also have one for becoming a community reviewer. So proposals that are submitted are broad in scope, complex in nature, and address various different parts of the ecosystem, whether that's development or outreach, marketing, education, research. All these areas get covered by proposals within Project Catalyst. And so we need a whole load of disciplines, technical experts to come in and actually review these proposals and give us as voters an informed opinion on their value to the community, and whether they're technically of merit, not necessarily whether they're feasible or not, but just give us an opinion, an expert opinion on how they should go. So we've got proposal reviewers as an incentivized portion of Project Catalyst as well. So if you want to review proposals and get paid for it, then you can register as a proposal reviewer, and that's what this section of the site is about. Proposal reviewers do get paid well, but you do have to work hard for your effort. So if you're finding voting bigger of an issue, then community reviewing is probably not for you. You do need to have a significant chunk of time available to put into reviewing proposals to make it worth your while in terms of payout. But it does pay well if you do put that effort in. So particularly for experts in maybe poorer economies that have a lower cost of living than the West, the North, then you can have a good means of income by participating as a community reviewer. So it's great to have mechanisms to onboard developing nations in particular into really influencing our tech industry, because at the moment it's very US centric, and we really need to have the humanities opinion and value more widely distributed. And certainly nations like India are coming on strong in that regard and really producing a significant difference to the tech landscape, which is great to see. In terms of looking whether you participated in Fund 10 as a voter, you can actually go back and see some of the results here. If you have a team that you voted for and you're particularly interested in how that project is progressing, they're now releasing and revealing a lot of good information on this site itself. So this is a list of the challenges from Fund 10. If you voted on any of these, you can actually go in and find some projects that you like the look of. So what I see, open source dev ecosystem. Probably have some projects in that I was interested in. This is a list of all the proposals that were funded in this challenge. So 19 projects here were funded. And so these are the guys who were the winners in this challenge of Fund 10. And if you voted for them, then you're probably interested in how they're spending that money, what progress they're making, and whether you're getting your the value out of it. Because if you think about it as we are now participants in the Cardano ecosystem, we are earning staking rewards by holding ADA. Those staking rewards are effectively being diminished by the majority of them being carved off and going into the treasury. Majority of the network's fees being carved off and going into the treasury. 20% of which is being carved off and given to Project Catalyst. Have we got this figure right? I think that's correct. So Project Catalyst as a whole is taking a portion of the potential fees we could be earning. Would you rather be getting an extra a little incentive on your staking rewards, or would you have would you like to have Project Catalyst being funded by the treasury? Certainly to date, I think we've had a lot of value out of Project Catalyst, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I'm very willing to give up that little portion of fees. But this is only going to stay healthy if we keep monitoring it, we keep stopping, rechecking ourselves, and progressing gradually. So the stop in fund after Fund 9, and that pause, that delay was painful and disrupted the community significantly. But it was worthwhile. Hopefully, it'll be worthwhile long term in terms of the quality we produce. Hi, Paul. You got your hand up. Got a question?
Yeah. You made, I think, a while back. You said about that potentially they were going to have a computer app for this. Does it work on the computer now, or is it still on your mobile phone?
For the voting, Fund 10 certainly was mobile still, and I don't know if they've got the tech ready for the desktop app for this round yet either. Again, we're a little bit away still, so they've got until early January to get that finished. I know that they are working on it, but the new voting center, whether it's going to actually be desktop capable or not, or ready for use even, is an unknown at the moment. That will be an interesting one to have a look, because their progress will be measured now on this website. So let's do that as an exercise. So in Fund 10, under the Catalyst system improvements, I believe it was, or was it fund operations? System improvements, probably. We can have a look at the winning proposals, which there are only 4. Catalyst teams, Catalyst ecosystem, or this idea scale replacement of web browser. And I think the voting center might have been part of this one. Catalyst voices. So we can see they haven't submitted a monthly report yet. We have got info on the team that are delivering on this. Nigel Hemsley is a new position. I don't think I've seen him speak yet. Chris and Danny are heroes of Catalyst. Danny in particular has been around from the very beginning, worked extremely hard from the community, and then onboarded IOG. Now as part of the core Catalyst team. Stephen Jones is a newer hire who's leading the development, the architecture of the tech stack, and he's a force to be reckoned with. He's been phenomenal, works extremely hard, and speaks really well, enthusiastic, with passion about the tech that he's building. I've been in several conversations with him. Really good guy. So Nigel's been around for a while. Just deeper with IOG probably, so not a public facing figure so much, whereas Chris certainly is, and Danny is as well. So that's the team. We're interested in progress on their development. This is their roadmap. I think until they've actually submitted a report, there's probably not a lot we're going to glean from here. There'll be some of their opinion pieces brought through from their proposal. But browser-based voting and liquid democracy. So this is a promise that's what they're going to deliver. But we don't have a monthly report yet, so we don't know how far along they are with that. But yeah, this is where you can really get to see, answer those questions to some extent. So this video is probably good, a bit of 6 minutes long, so that might be worth a watch to see how the voting centre is progressing. This is before even Fund 10 funding was secured, so they'll be a bit further along from here, certainly by now. But that will be a good thing to watch, probably a little video 6-minute video from Chris on the voting centre. So I'll drop that link into the Discord server for you, Paul, and you can have a catch up on there.
Thank you.
Back on the funds, so let's have a look, see if we have got anybody who's actually submitted a report yet, because that would be interesting to see what sort of detail we're getting out of projects as they build. So who's got the Explorer? These guys are very active. Have they got a report in yet? Because they're probably keen for funds. No, it doesn't look like it. Not too sure on this interface yet. Do a bit around the houses. No, I was on the right page. Excuse me. My bad. Pool.pm, another great developer. Monthly report. Yes, we have a monthly report from Pool.pm. So Smaug, the operator of Smaug Pool, who developed Pool.pm, which you're very familiar with, and it's the most beautiful, user-friendly blockchain explorer on Cardano. While we're here, we just have a quick jump and look at the pool. So we can see that we're now up to 129 delegators to the pool, and we're up to 78 blocks minted, which is great. We have made the change to the minimum pool cost. So we've now reduced the first fee that's taken per epoch for the first block in an epoch. 340 was secured for paying for fluid pool infrastructure. We've now reduced that to 170 ADA. Obviously, the price and value of ADA is increasing, so covering costs is going to be easier and easier over time. It won't cover quite so to date there at the moment, but for competitive reasons, it's nice to have that cost low, and being able to lower it from 340 to 170 was only made available 2 epochs ago. So we're fairly early. It was good to let the dust settle for a couple of epochs, in my opinion, before we ran a quick poll on Discord, got people's opinions, checked that you were all right with the change. Brought up some major arguments, and nobody did. So we had a positive vote for dropping it. So it's now down to 170. Blocks, we've got a good rate of production here. More than 1 per epoch now, which is great to have. There will be 1 minted tonight as well, hopefully, so if all goes well. So look forward to that. Pool.pm, this is Pool.pm. So Smaug Pool is the developer of it, and he secured funding. He did all, the majority of the development of this for free before applying for any Catalyst funding. Since subsequently he has started applying for funding, which is great to see because he deserves acknowledgement and some return. This is his stake pool, Smaug, nearly saturated, which is great to see. So he's making good revenue from that already. He's built up a sizable pledge, and he also has a Catalyst proposal. Oops, wrong tab. In here, and this is his first monthly report. So the way that the Catalyst process is being optimized is that initially people were just given all the funds, they could go and spend it and try and deliver on their projects. Now they've got much more accountability. They have to release monthly progress reports. They have to state what's going to be in the report, what they'll hope to achieve by the next report in a month in advance. And until they hit their milestones, they don't get paid. So they are still determining their progress, but they are actually being held account to delivering on what they are promising. They're still free to fail, but the that is far more closely tied to the distribution of funds now. So will hopefully, or I expect some projects will fail early. We'll be retaining more funds in the treasury for release later, but also we'll hopefully get more input and insight into the teams as they go. So we'll get an idea on who the good teams to be funding in subsequent funds, and also getting more value for money in terms of the actual tech being built out. So this is his first report. Work is split into two parts. He's got a new design pool coming, which let's see. And a new version is in testing already. You'll be able to see all assets from a specific policy. So if you want to browse all the milk, all the MuesliSwap hungry cows, you can go and find them all on pool.pm after this release. They're going to introduce animated images. So if you had an NFT that was actually animated GIFs or videos, that will now actually be supported, so you can preview them on pool.pm Explorer. So all these little features, little tweaks are nice to have. The essence of the project is already up and very functional. But we are funding sort of the next round of development, and he's a good guy, got great ideas, and so we're about to see some good things come out of it. The actual scope of his proposal is here, so you can go back and check up on that as well. So that's an example of the kind of insight we'll get into projects now and how they're progressing. This is all kind of obfuscated within administration by the team before. Now it's getting surfaced onto this website itself, which is a great user interface, much better than Idea Scale as well. I think you'll agree. So great to see that. Any more questions in and around Project Catalyst? That's actually the end of my notes, but there was one thing I wanted to try and surface. A couple more things to surface from here. So there was the Fund 11 and the roadmap. Excuse my dog barking in the background. We've got tradesmen working on the roof, and he likes to protect us, even though he's a big wuss. Fund 11 roadmap. I'm not going to find that timeline again now, am I? We're in submission phase. There's specifics on voter registration I wanted to see. Maybe it's in the submission guide.
Yeah. Then as before, is it possible to sort of like share your pick in proposals in the proposal projects?
Yeah, when it comes to voting, I'll certainly add my
when it comes
mark list
closer
again.
to the voting time. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so this is a timeline. It's not the nice graphic I was after though, but I'm sure that'll come. But yes, as ever, Lido Nation is under heavy development. They've actually secured some funding in Fund 10, and that will be where I'll have my bookmark list of projects that I'm rating in Fund 11, and I'll get that to you guys so you can review it yourself.
Yeah,
I'll shortcut some of the work. Yes. Oh, yeah, I know what I want. Where I can find it. Just bear with me 1 second. I'll dig into Discord. So this video will cover a lot of the updates to Fund 11, and the slides link is a valuable piece of information as well. actually, here it's right on page. So changes to Fund 11. Number of proposals is being restricted this time around. So I mean, last time I think there was 1,600 of them. We won't have to delve so deep into them now, because there'll be fewer, hopefully. This is Fund 10. These are the older slides. Fund 15. Where's that here still? Yeah, these are them. There's a breakdown. There's no more challenges. There are now categories. And so within the Cardano Open developers category, there is a 10.5 million budget, and each project has a cap of 200,000. That's the most one project can ask for. In the Cardano Open ecosystem, similar cap, 200. Then in these are the big infrastructure project categories. They don't have so much of a cap, but oh dear, it's not detailed. Some of the smaller cap ones, there we go, like these Cardano use cases, concepts, so more researchy, more ideas based, will have a lower cap. So this is again trying to make sure that we're having an efficient use of funds. Whereas a solution, actually someone building, is going to get a maximum cap of 300,000. And again, this is just for a 3-month period. So there's nothing stopping them from applying in Fund 12 for renewed funding to carry on the next phase of their development. And so there's a lot of thought being put into how do we temper the flow, improve the quality for the better on all these funds. So
a lot fairer division of funds.
You're a bit quiet, Paul. Say that again.
It seems a lot more fairer division of funds.
Was that you think it'll be a lot fairer distribution of funds?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It should be. That's the hope. And one of the major changes that I'm really, really happy about is there will be no downvoting in Fund 11. Yay! So downvoting was a significant issue in Fund, in my opinion, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 7, 8, 9, 10. But particularly in Fund 10, there was pure, I would suggest, cynical strategic voting tactics held. So if you liked a project in a particular challenge, you would upvote it and then downvote everything else, just so that your project had more chance of getting through. And I think that was tactically done by teams, by large whales, large investors, large ADA holders, and resulted in all the smaller community, less obvious, tech output projects being massively downvoted. And so across the board, downvoting was rife in Fund 10. And so in Fund 10, there was a proposal for remove downvoting, and that in itself got the most downvotes of any proposal. And the team, again, this is sort of an indication of the centralization within Project Catalyst still. Through community workshops that were held throughout the pause between Fund 9 and 10, there were lots of workshops. The community got together with the Project Catalyst team, and the overriding opinion was that downvoting was a net negative for the ecosystem. And so there's been a sort of a decision made from the top down, under consultation, rather than as a real on-chain vote or anything like that, to remove downvoting in the next round. And so Fund 11 will have no downvoting. What it will have, though, is an abstain instead. So you'll have the option when you go to vote to either vote up for a proposal or abstain your vote on a proposal. The reason is that abstain is actually the same mechanism as the downvote, but won't be counted in terms of vote tally. It is still there as a feature because this actually adds a layer of ambiguity to the voting data. So there is an intention of Project Catalyst voting to be anonymous. So you can't determine who voted up for projects and who voted down, and so on and so forth. You can't identify the voters' actual vote decisions. That way, we try and keep the votes anonymous and less prone to coercion or vote buying or anything that plagues real-world voting in terms of governance systems around the world. And so within Project Catalyst mechanisms, a way of obfuscating who was voting, one of the key factors was that there was a positive vote or a negative vote that you could have. Now it's just going to be a positive vote or an abstain. And so even though the abstain won't contribute to any outcome of the results, it's worth you abstaining on a few projects, not necessarily the same ones you upvote for. You can abstain on any project you want as an option, and that will just add in some obfuscation data to the voting records so that people can't then interrogate it afterwards and actually extract out exactly what your votes were, because that is going to be more of a risk, more of a possibility based on the data set that's produced. Because we talk about being anonymous and obscure and your data being safe and protected in all sort of Web 2 world, and Google doesn't know your exact search records and histories and everything like that because they promise to obfuscate it. But in reality, if some rogue employee decided to go after your data in particular, if they just had access to the anonymized data set, so no IP information, no uniquely identified information stored in the data, that it doesn't take an awful lot of data work. Data scientists could easily go through and extract several sort of points of information they know about you and who you are in terms of your public identity, and determine what your typical behaviors are, who you correlate to, and then extract out from that information about your whereabouts, your likely decisions. And this is how things like suggest lists on websites are. Google YouTube says we think you'll like this video next, even though they're working with anonymized data. They're easily able to extract out what your preferences are and things like that. And so there is real issue with lack of anonymity in certainly the Web 2 world, and the same is currently in Web 3. We need to introduce whole new layers of tech to really get that anonymous status, and that's kind of moved me back to talking a little bit about the next chain that's being released out of IOG, which is Midnight. So we've got Cardano, which is a hugely popular, valuable, public, permissionless, open and accessible blockchain. Midnight is a different ball game. It is a privacy chain, so it will have extremely high levels of privacy. What happens on chain will be kept anonymized and obfuscated, so you won't be able to tell who's buying what when. And the idea is for that to be completely anonymous, so nobody will be able to tell exactly who's buying what when, and tracking wallet activity, etc. That is very much possible, on Cardano, but won't be on Midnight. And that's an important next step in terms of providing a secure, safe place for people to really have opinions on anything still, because anytime anyone has an opinion, someone has an opposing opinion, and depending on who's in power and what the opinions of those in power are, that will determine how valid and how much persecution you'll come under having an opposing opinion. And we're seeing that more and more today, and it's becoming a real problem in politics and in policy within nations. Several, you can be deplatformed for having an opinion on vaccine mandates, on big pharmaceutical activity, advertising, so on and so forth. You can be deplatformed for speaking out about the sugar industry and its damaging effects on health. You can be deplatformed for discussing gender issues and equality as human to human. All these things are contentious topics that are significantly diametrically opposed opinions in several areas, and that can end up in you being deplatformed in today's culture, which is a significant issue because it will drown out dissenting voices that may be actually rational and net beneficial to us as humanity. Opinions that have been held and adhered to for generations are being thrown out with baby with bathwater sort of thing. So having new systems of governance, new systems of decision making as one of the crucial aspects that blockchain can offer. Zero knowledge proofs are this specific segment of technology that will really produce the largest shift in terms of being able to hold anonymous votes and anonymous transactions, capitalist activity. That's where Midnight really comes into its own, and why it's been separated out from Cardano, because Cardano is great for holding people to account. So we've got open and permissionless activity on chain. If we can actually augment that, supplement, embellish that with a privacy chain as well, then we'll have the best of both worlds working in symmetry, which is a really good balanced approach to bringing what we've produced in the fiat world, in the current economic system, in the current governance systems over into blockchain, having that verifiable, trustworthy set of data, whether that's anonymized or not, is a real step forward in terms of how we manage ourselves as societies. So exciting things. And on that note, I should probably point you again to Midnight, because they are being very vocal on social media, and they haven't got such a big Google presence yet, obviously. Oops. Midnight.network, that's the domain. If you want to catch up on the latest from these guys, this is worth doing. Reminder as well that they have made a public declaration that when Midnight launches and they do their token generation event for Dust, there is going to be an airdrop of, and the latest bit of news actually, which I haven't said before, is that every ADA holder is going to be given an airdrop. So we're going to receive a token from the Midnight network in correlation with all ADA holders. But the latest bit of news is that it won't actually be Dust, which is a token we've heard about, the only token we've heard about so far. It won't actually, it's not like to be Dust that's given out to all ADA holders. It will be another token. So what the other token is, we don't know yet. But we are going to receive an airdrop of a valuable first tier chain token just for holding ADA, which is another bonus for us to come, which will be an exciting little airdrop to take part in. Dinesh.
Yeah, question with regard to Midnight airdrop. Do you need to hold ADA on your wallet, any particular wallet, or in exchanges, or do you know whether if it's on your hardware wallet, does it make any difference?
The likelihood is it will need to be on a self-custody wallet. So on hot wallets, Eternal, Yoroi, Daedalus, or on a hardware wallet, or in a collaboration of those two. So Eternal on Ledger, a Trezor wallet, all those self-sovereign wallets will be eligible for the airdrop. I suspect that ADA held by accounts on exchanges won't receive the airdrop. So if you are holding tokens on exchange, again, the Binance news is more reason to keep very little on exchanges, get it all off onto self-sovereign wallets, no matter what blockchain you're interacting with. That's whether that's Ethereum or Solana or Polkadot or Algorand or Ergo, get them off into self-sovereign wallets. Don't hold them on exchanges. Above and beyond those you need to have on exchanges for trading purposes or exchange or wherever.
I've just received Tangem 2 wallet.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So question would be, if it's on Tangem wallet, would that be compatible, or would that be one of those that would be?
I believe all hardware wallets in correlation with, so like you have native hardware storage, and then you have storage in collaboration with native wallets, hot wallets. So you can sign transactions with a ledger through Eternal, for example, but you can also hold ADA directly on a ledger device, and either of those will work. And I presume that Tangem will be the same sort of deal. Tangem were at the Cardano Summit, weren't they? I think they.
Yes, they came around and they did a presentation. I actually missed that presentation, but they gave out to people who attended some, like a ring. It was like a ring that you put on a finger. That's what the type of wallet they were. I think it was a beta version of promoting that kind of concept.
Right. So yes. So that will be a self-sovereign wallet that you can. Yeah, you'll be eligible for holding ADA on there as well, I'm sure. Yeah, that ring device is pretty nifty. So instead of having to have your whole phone out and sign for blockchain transactions with that, you'll just actually be able to do it by holding your ring to an NFC device, or I'm presuming it's an NFC device. Yeah, very slick.
I must say, I spoke to the two people who were there later on, but I didn't get the ring, and I didn't have a chance to ask them about the actual ring itself, because I had an issue I was wanted to sort out with the actual card that I had. So I think that the ring concept is a really good idea.
It is. It's certainly again, it's like user interface stuff that we were talking about earlier. It's about making things more accessible, easy to use, and we're so used to just touching our cards and our phones to mobile payment terminals now. If that can then migrate into just being, you got your ring on, you can pay for your groceries. That's a convenience step again that I'm sure will adopt very rapidly, very easily. And it's good to see that blockchain applications are at the forefront of that user interface hardware layer as well. So yeah, good point. In fact, it's probably worth bringing up Tangem website. If anybody wants to go and do a bit more research, they have this card offering, and they also have a brand new ring offering as well that will let you pay with something sort of much more familiar than the typical hardware wallet. But yeah, you'll have to let us know how you get on with it.
Yes, I will. I've actually just set it up. I'm not moved anything yet, but that's the next step.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and typically what the criteria for anybody who's looking to offer an airdrop for ADA holders is, one requirement is normally that they are staked. So as long as you've got your ADA staked, whether that's through a hardware wallet again or just a hot wallet, then making sure that it is actually staked to a community pool rather than to an exchange pool is a sure way to be eligible for more airdrops. That's another reason to get over. Good.
So, sorry, Jonathan. Is this a physical sort of like a card or something? Is it?
Yeah, you can see on the images that's what the device looks like. So a bit different to your ledger or Trezor devices.
If you put me on the screen, can you see? Can you see my? Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see that? You get 3 cards.
Yeah.
Just like credit card shapes. So the idea is that you set all 3 cards up and
Yeah.
you use one. The other 2 are your backup. If you lose 2, then when you get to the third one, then you order your next set of cards, so you can back it up on the new cards.
And those cards are for what? To pay by ADA or what's the
No, I just paid using dollars. I bought it online. This pack of 3 was about £60, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty nice. But a hardware wallet rather than a hot wallet. So with that extra layer of security that you get from that, which is well worth doing.
I see.
Okay. Yeah, and the more typical hardware wallets that we've used to date have been devices like this, and you use them to sign transactions done on your computer or from your phone. The Tangem now will do that, but in a portable, slick, sit in your wallet type way. And their latest device again is even more portable in terms of it being an actual ring on your finger. And in fact, I don't know whether I've got a picture of the ring here, but I saw a palm-based, so biometric scanner being used at a till in the States, which I just found all a bit too scary. So no physical device being held, just your palm print being read by a checkout machine. That seems a bit too end times, in my opinion. Just wander past a billboard and have it display and find you've held your palm in a certain way and it swiped your credentials and paid for goods, and they'll just turn up in your doorstep. That's what it reminds me of, but we're not quite there yet. Sorry, I was just looking for something. I distracted myself. I can't remember what it was now. Picture of the ring. That was it. I was going to find the ring on one of the guys I follow. Cardano community guy is Mauro from Argentina, and he, on this count, he was at the summit in Dubai, and he came back with one of those Tangem rings. So I think he's got a picture on his feed somewhere. There he is with the new president of Argentina. Before he was president, the picture was taken. But he's an exciting guy to have in office. He's a radical. I don't know what you call him. More conservative, certainly, than Labour or Republican rather than Democrat, however you want to look at it. But he's like a Trump to a Biden. Controversial, but taking no prisoners in terms of crazy policies, and is very pro crypto. So that's an exciting thing to have another head of state who is pro crypto. Oh, I'm not finding this, am I? People tweet a lot. All right, here's his Here's his actual presence, posts from the summit. A few more seconds, I'm gonna have to do that. Okay. Yeah, there's his ring. So you can see here, it's just a normal ring. Put it on your finger, and there's your hardware wallet. So quite an interesting development, and it's in beta, so it's not available for sale publicly, I don't think, as of yet. But if you were at the summit, then you could get hold of one as an early adopter. There he is, pairing it with an app on the phone, the Tangent app.
I'd be concerned that someone comes through with or develops a reader for it that you get within a certain proximity and it picks up the ring.
Yes, well, I mean, that is a risk factor, but the far greater risk factor is the fact that that's available now on all smart chip credit cards. So, you know, these cards that have let me show on screen. Any card, which is most of them now, which have the little chip in them, that's an NFC chip. And so the little gold bit can be read by NFC readers, just like your phone can as well. So that's a data interface that, you know, you can be on the tube train. Someone with a card reader can be standing near you, and if you've got your NFC on your phone or just one of those cards in your wallet, then the data can be read. Whether they can actually carry out a transaction is based on how slack the merchant has their settings at. So if you've got most merchants will have 3D Secure switched on their stores. So if someone's trying to buy stuff from Amazon, for example, by swiping your card on a tube train, they're unlikely to succeed because you'll need to put in that extra bit of authentication, either the 3-digit signature off the back of your card, CVV number, or nowadays they've got more metrics like you have to touch a security key, say click yes on your phone, the banking app on your phone, before the money can be spent. And so we're introducing layers of security, you know, after we've released the technology on all fronts. And with the Tangent ring, I'm sure it's going to be exactly the same. You'll need to actually issue some additional authentication to actually sign the transaction before it goes through. But how that mechanism works as an entirety, I don't know, because I don't have a ring. But the risk will be there, I'm sure, but also the mitigating tech will be there as well. So just be a case of learning, educating yourself on the security techniques you need to be using, and you'll keep yourself safe. But yeah, there are certainly risks within all of this stuff. Oh, you're on mute today.
Oh, the Tangent card doesn't have a chip in the way you've shown it. It's got a little design or logo on it. It's got number at the bottom. So when you back up, it asks you for the last 3 digits of that number, or last 4 digits of the number. So that's how you relate the different cards, because they're all the same color. You won't know which is which until you look at the number.
Right. Okay.
But it doesn't have a chip reader on it. It's got some logo. I think maybe through some built-in mechanism that it's got the sensing between the card and the app.
So you can't pay like normal, sort of like a retail place. You want to pay.
No, this is purely a hardware wallet, so you hold your crypto on it.
Okay. So you can put any coin, or just how many coin you can put?
There'll be a limit. There'll be a limits on which ones are available. I think they're updated on the software website, because I think they keep adding to the list as they progress.
Yeah, you can see on their website that they do have a chip within the card.
Okay.
So it's just buried within the plastic.
It's not visible. Yeah, it's just not visible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's invisible. It's actually invisible.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, you can see that. So this wire, just running around the exterior of the card and going back to the chip, is like an aerial almost. So that's actually what gets what picks up the signals from the reader, the card reader, or
smart design,
picks up by the reader. Yeah. So in fact, any device, with a chip in can be read like that, whether the chip is on the surface or not. So on my HSBC card, it's on the surface, on the tangent, it's inside. But similar technologies, different applications. Obviously, Visa, MasterCard, settlement layer is entirely independent of the settlement layer that Tangent is working on, which is a blockchain-based one. But yeah, interesting to see the crossover and the adoption. So we won't be long before. Well, certainly, there's not many places in the UK that will take payment in Bitcoin for your groceries, but I don't think it's going to be long before we start to see some things like that start to appear. And certainly in other nations, Venezuela, El Salvador, these are already appearing. Significant use of blockchain, Bitcoin, and other tokens in the sale of goods. So I'm thoroughly convinced that digital currencies based on blockchain technology is the future of commerce. And so we're talking about bringing the entire financial industry over into the blockchain space, which is dramatic shift. But along with that, it's going to bring a whole load of value, and us early adopters who are making ourselves aware of the technology and its possibilities, and taking advantage of the tokens that we have access to now will reap rewards down the road. In fact, maybe a quick look at as the last point, quick look at the token price. So despite the absolutely crushing news, what we thought would be a black swan event that could wipe out crypto forever, was the collapse of the Binance centralized exchange. That was a huge fear in people's minds. Well, that has it's not happened. But there's been a significant dent made to Binance, in that its CEO is now being made to step down from the company. We've had $4 billion of fines applied to Binance as an entity. There have been a huge outflow of funds from the Binance exchange back to sovereign wallets or out into other exchanges. Coinbase has benefited massively from the diminishing of Binance. But despite all that, real news, real impact, real action, we've had a blip in the scheme of things on the token price, which is, incredible to see, and a very bullish signal for the robustness and resilience and optimism of the industry as a whole. So, you can see that announcement was this week, and that was the dip. Bitcoin took a tumble, and every altcoin follows Bitcoin. So we went from a price of 37,641 to 35,965. The following 2 days later, and then the same day we were back up again at 37,554, and we're
I'm
at that
waiting
price
for it
now.
to go 35, you know, John. Waiting for
What is
30 to buy it because, you know, yeah.
You're looking to buy in again? Yeah. I mean, with that event having happened, I would have thought that would be the thing that drove it back down below 35, and it didn't even manage to do that. So yeah, I think we might have seen the last days of $35,000 Bitcoin. It didn't even do it this month, I don't think. Paul, you got
I was going to say, I actually watched that live, the Department of Justice presentation, and there was quite high-profile politicians there and Department of Justice representatives. SEC wasn't there, so SEC wasn't there. So obviously they must have disagreed on some aspects. But I was keen on looking at the price, and the price of Bitcoin was around 37 when they started to charge. It actually went up during the presentation. And then overnight it dipped down to, like you said, just around 36. And then it's now back up again, 37.6. So in terms of the reaction compared to FTX to what it is now for Binance, it shows there's a lot of support for what CZ had done so far. Bit with some problems that he's owned up to, but I think it proves it's a good sign from now on that it's not likely to crash other than for any other black swan events.
Yeah.
I think the Binance equation is taken out now of the FUD.
I think the fear, certainly the fear around how we could have another FTX has been allayed significantly by this action and resilience shown here. I think we're in good positions now, which kind of sets it up for the halving is in April or something like that, I think. So yeah, really we're probably just on an increase now. So if you are holding off buying, it may just be time to get in. Don't know. Who knows? It might drop. Maybe something else makes it drop. But you know,
if you got cash left.
If you got, I certainly don't. We're back on the 14th of November. We did have it below 35. Sorry, 35.2. So that wasn't even below. So this one, last time we were below, was back on the 7th. So yeah, that might be the last time we see sub 35. And we're at 37, approaching 38 now. So yeah, the climb may have started, and in the interests of comparison and fairness, I've got to look at ADA as well.
Yeah, what I was really surprised about was the ADA went from 33, 34 up to 39 now, and throughout this scenario, it's actually remained very strong.
Extremely strong, yeah. So we don't really see a change in trajectory from a month ago. No. We're just climbing.
Yeah, I mean, considering the ADA was mentioned in the Kraken lawsuit, and Binance happened, instead of going back to 0.25, it's actually gone up to its bullish level, 0.39.
Yeah. It's just been a minor blip on the scheme of things, and yeah, they are significant actions to be named in another SEC case as a security in correlation with Kraken, and not suffer a significant. I mean, last time it happened, that's when we saw the lowest price of ADA ever. So for it not to dent the trajectory now is a very good signal. So yeah, very confident in the future of ADA, and you know, crypto industry as a whole. So it's good. All good news at the moment, which is great to see. We still obviously have got a lot of way to go. I think saw a stat briefly that 1 in 3 ADA holders are still underwater. So most people who bought ADA actually bought it when it was above the current price. But of course, we are still sitting at nearly 1/10 of our all-time high. So anybody buying in now is still going to probably see 10x in the next bull cycle on their holdings, which is, yeah. There's not many other places you're going to get that in the investment world. So it's looking more and more bullish, which is great.
Can I just ask one quick one?
Yeah.
Said about a new token release, and I think you said about joining the Discord channel, which I've done. Obviously, you've staked with Fluid 7. Is there anything else we need to do? Apologies, I can't remember the name of the token.
Yeah, no. So this is the dashboard for Coinector. They will. Let me refresh that. That's out of date. Oh, no, it is up to date. So you can see this has picked up some changes. Reet G was a friend of mine. He's retiring his pool, decided it's not economically viable, and he was making good headway, which is a shame. But his stake is now dropping off. But we've got 1, 2, 3 pools that have broken the 5 million barrier. We've got Upstream well on the way as well, which is great to see. They're the guys who organised the London Summit. We've jumped about 200,000, I think, from this ISO, and now we've dropped our fixed fee from 340 to 170. I'm hopeful that might add a bit more interest to people coming and joining. But yeah, in terms of what you need to do next, there's nothing to do until the end of this ISO. So I think they have a page that you can see rewards. So yeah, if you drop your address in here of any wallets that's staked to Fluid Pool. So let's have a look at my wallet, just to do it on screen. We can see what the rewards that I've earned so far will be, apparently. Don't know what that did. Can anybody see what that did? I think I'm staked to Fluid Pool. I'm currently staked 223 ADA, but I'm sure it gave us a list, an actual readout of the rewards, or it's reportedly going to give us a readout of the rewards due. No, okay, well, I'll try and find out that. But they're, in effect, they say they've got a dashboard. You can go and actually read what your rewards will be, and then you'll know by the end of the Epoch 463 to go and collect. Yeah, I think it's going to be a collect mechanism rather than an airdrop one. So you go and pick them up rather than have them pushed to your wallet. But yeah, until that happens, there's nothing for us to do. If that changes, I'll update you. But yeah, I think that answers your question.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool. Yeah. But yeah, good news all around. Things are still looking good for the pool and for Cardano as a whole. So yeah, we'll end it there, I think. So we hit 11 o'clock my time, and we'll be on again next Friday. Thanks for joining. Hope you all have good weeks, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.